Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Alex and Roger here with your weekly fishing report, and I know you've been out there this week.
I have.
So what have you seen out there?
Past couple days, I was out Wednesday, Thursday. Wednesday, I started at the bridge. Didn't really do that well there. There was no tide when I was there, though. So, you know, that obviously is going to play a role in it.
Right.
So kind of as the day went on, I noticed over at the pipeline, there were a couple birds, and they would just kind of pick up, dive once, and then they would all sit back down. So I watched that for probably 10 or 15 minutes. They did it 2-3 times, so I decided to give that a shot. Went over there, first cast, 24-inch fish. A few casts later, 26-inch. I ended up catching one up to 29 inches, but they were stacked right on top of the pipeline. I'm using dark colors right now, and I kind of upsize everything. So 7 or 8-inch diesel minnows or the streaks, or jerk shads, whatever we got here. So I like the dark colors right now. It just seems that's what they're hitting. And bigger baits because yesterday I was in Eastern Bay and the schools of LY are out of
Just big
massive
fish.
schools of LY,
Nice.
big LY. So I'm just trying to match
Hatch, right?
Yeah. So I'm also doing 1-ounce jigs on those. So on Wednesday when I was out there, I lost my 1-ounce jig. And only had 5/8 ounce, and then I stopped catching fish after that. It seemed like they were on the bottom.
Yeah.
Every time I'd go over that pipeline, I'd feel the pipe, and then boom, I'd get hit. So they were just kind of concentrated there. I also hit Eastern Bay yesterday, and like I said, there is so much bait in Eastern Bay right now, everywhere. And kind of the same thing. You'll see groups of birds, they'll start diving. 20 seconds later, they're all just sitting back down in the water. So we'd go over there and look at the meter, and there is bait and fish all over the place underneath all these piles of birds. They just didn't want to eat anything.
Yeah.
So we kind of kept that in mind, bounced around, found a few different schools. Nothing really wanted to eat. And then eventually we just go back to one of the other schools we found, and they did kind of turn on. Caught a couple fish. Biggest was 26 inches, but not a bad day.
It's one of those problems when you find too much bait.
Right. That's
sometimes there's
so
not
much.
I guess not a lot of fish around, but there's big fish. And they're being really selective
on what they want. Yeah.
Right.
And like I said, the 26-inch fish I caught was huge.
Oh yeah.
Its stomach was swollen.
They're just feeding for this winter, and you know that's the thing nowadays. It's a lot of fish moving around, finding all these bait schools, and that's one thing. You know, as we progress into this month, they're going to be flowing out of those rivers. Eastern Bay and just moving out, but all these, even like a 20-inch fish is probably going to be like really fat at this time of the year.
Which is great. I mean, they're all healthy fish, pretty fish, fat fish.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where like, there's still fish around here, and most of the fish that you're going to find here is going to be more quality fish and quantity.
For sure.
Which is a good thing.
Right,
you know?
Yeah.
You might spend a few hours out there, but you might catch some
when
good
you're
size fish.
You're getting upper 20, low 30.
Right.
Fish.
And that's great, you know, that's what most people want around here. But if you want more of the quantity, just work your way south.
Yep, that's, we were talking before this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Work your way south of the chop tank, pretty much, Chesapeake Beach and down, and you'll start finding your typical pattern of most of those mid-sized schoolies schooling up in the channels down there. And I mean, you're finding probably breaking fish most of the day down there. And it's a mix, like I said. You know, you're finding more quality size fish here, and then you're going to find a mix down there if you're willing to make the ride. But as we progress into this month with this colder temperatures, especially coming into this week with temperatures dropping into the low 40s at night, maybe even upper 30s. The water's going to cool down. So typically, this is a time of year when you want those big baits, big stuff, and just find bait.
Right. Yeah.
So besides that, I know the guys shore fishing here having the same success rate with catching a lot of catfish with uncut bait and a few good sized rockfish off Sandy Point. So I know some of the guys were complaining this past week of catching 20, 30 catfish, channels and blue cats mixed in. Good sized fish though. On your cut bait, cut LY spot. Peelers, that's the way to go. Magothy was the same thing, so just gotta put in the time and work through those catfish. But even so, down south, you're still finding some, small speckled trout and puppy drum mixed in, way down, towards Point Lookout and Solomon. So there's still a few things left over, and if you can, I know some of you guys were doing the sea bass stuff.
Yeah, they're definitely still around as well.
Yeah, and then you know it's one of those things where like try the big rich pilings. They're probably there
Right,
too.
I bet they are. Yeah, just no one ever thinks about to do it.
Right, right. So just get out there and check it out. But other than that, we've been
pickerel fishing.
Yeah, pickerel fishing.
Right.
It's that time of the year. The water's cooling down in the rivers, and it's been pretty productive. I mean, whenever we have a good tide in this tidal rivers, fishing to push really shallow, and you can get them with a whole bunch of different things. This is a few things we've been using here past week. Small chatterbaits with the small straight tails. They're like the Streaks 3.75.
Those really vibes at 5
Yep.
too. I love
And you catch all kinds of things. You know, small rockfish, pickerel, perch, everything will hit those. And then some of these spinners with some paddle tails, like the diesel minnows.
Yeah, I had a big snake hit that.
Yeah.
With one of those last year when I was pickerel fishing, and almost ripped the rod out of my
Right.
hand.
It's one of those baits that will catch anything on there. So Patapsco, Severn, South River, all those areas have been producing a lot of fish. And then the milk ponds on the eastern shore are also cooling down enough to where you can, you know, drift around and cast around and catch a few pickerel. And it's that time of year when you can get live minnows and just drift them around anywhere and you'll catch some fish. Same thing, obviously, for the ponds. Just drift around, catch some pickerel, bass, crappie, a mix of things. So if it's too rough out in the bay, that's kind of, you know, one of the other options
for sure
to go out there and do that. Other than that, we got like, you know, your coastal fishing stuff. It's actually some stuff picking up now, especially in the back base of Ocean City. Right at Route 50, I've seen a lot of people talk fishing.
Right, yeah, we were just talking about that.
Now, there's a lot of people going through, you know, undersized fish to catch a few keepers, but everybody's been switching over to some of these jigs now instead of your, you know, high and low rig.
Right.
It makes it a little bit easier, more contact with the bait, and, you know, like we were talking about, you got to be on that bite. As soon as you feel it, you got to set the hook.
Yeah.
So this gives you a little bit more.
Frustrating.
Yeah. So some of these things give you a little more feel and just kind of everything compact.
Right. I like that short little shake on there too. Yeah.
So put a green crab on there, you know, sand fleas, and if you have to, you can find anything else like peelers, and you'll catch some fish like that. They're still catching rockfish on there at night. Seen some monster rockfish out of there. The beginning of this week kind of slowed down, but a lot of mixed-sized fish down there between, like, you know, 20 and 35 inches. So give that a shot if you're down there. Surf fishing is kind of waiting on those, you know, big rockfish to come from up north, but they should be coming down within the next month or so. Other than that, I mean, perch fishing, I guess, around here is just going to deeper water.
Right, yeah, it seems that's definitely not a ton of them in the creeks anymore.
Right.
Definitely still some stragglers around, but you know, deeper water, kind of like those oyster beds right now, that's probably
and then you can also find like yellow perch probably up in the creeks now starting to pick up. So minnows once again.
Yeah, minnows.
Find a whole bunch of minnows. And you heard anything about crabbing wise? Are people still
starting
doing
to
that?
slow down? I know some people are still doing it, running some crab pots off their docks, but I think for the most part that's kind of on its way out for the year, unfortunately.
Well, always next year, right? So, I mean, besides that, I think that's all we got going on this week here. So, you know, make sure you come by and check out all this stuff we have here, and send us some pictures. And, you know, tight lines out there, guys.
Thank you.